Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, the house quiet around you, and suddenly noticed a voice in your head talking, judging, remembering, worrying? Maybe it says, "You shouldn't have said that yesterday," or "Why haven't they called?" or "I'm not as sharp as I used to be." It speaks as if it knows you well. Sometimes it sounds like your own voice. Sometimes it sounds like someone else from your past. And sometimes it just won't stop. It can be exhausting, can't it? Especially in these later years when you finally have time to breathe, to rest, and yet the mind seems louder than ever. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. Many people over 60 say that while life has slowed down around them, the noise inside has only grown louder. With fewer distractions and responsibilities, we begin to notice the inner dialogue that's been playing in the background for decades. That voice in your head, it doesn't take a day off. It reminds you of old regrets, replays conversations, questions your choices, and sometimes makes you doubt yourself. And in the stillness of retirement, it often feels like there's no escape from it. But here's a question I'd like to gently ask you, that voice. Is it really you? It sounds like you. It knows your history. It uses your words, your memories, your fears. But Buddhism, along with many other wisdom traditions, teaches us something both surprising and liberating: that voice is not your true self. It's not your essence. It's not the calm, steady part of you that watches life unfold with quiet strength. That voice is a habit, a pattern of thoughts built over years. It's the product of your upbringing, your experiences, your conditioning, but it is not you. Think about this: if you can hear the voice, doesn't that mean you are not the voice itself? You are the one listening. You are the quiet awareness behind the thoughts, the one who sees, the one who feels. That's a powerful realization. And once you begin to see it, everything starts to shift. You're no longer trapped by every thought that comes to mind. You can begin to observe without reacting. You can begin to choose peace instead of being pulled into every internal storm. Let me share something that might make this more relatable. A man named Walter, 72 years old, once told me about his struggle with the voice in his head. After retiring, he thought he would finally feel peace, but instead, he felt more anxious than ever. The voice kept reminding him of things he hadn't done, mistakes from his past, and worries about being useless. It would say, "You don't matter anymore," or "You're just taking up space." Walter believed these thoughts for a long time. They made him withdraw from friends. They made him doubt his worth. One day, he read a line from a Buddhist book that changed everything. It said, "The mind is like a wild horse. It runs where it pleases until you learn to hold the reins gently." That image stuck with him. He realized that he had never questioned the voice in his head. He had just assumed it was him. But what if it was just noise? What if he didn't have to believe every word Walter started practicing something simple every morning before doing anything else? He sat quietly and noticed what the voice was saying. Instead of reacting, he just watched it. Sometimes the voice said things like, "You'll never feel better." But instead of agreeing, he would gently smile and say, "Thank you for your opinion, mind," and then return to his breath. Slowly, the voice lost its grip, not because it disappeared, but because Walter stopped letting it control his emotions. This is what I want to invite you into today, not a fight with the voice in your head, but a relationship with it that's based on gentle observation. The truth is, you don't have to silence the voice. You only have to recognize that you're not it. The moment you become the witness instead of the participant, a new sense of freedom opens up. Now you might wonder, if the voice isn't really me, then where did it come from? It comes from many places. Our parents, our teachers, the culture we grew up in, and our personal life experiences over the years. These influences create an inner script, repeating phrases and beliefs we've picked up without realizing. If someone once told you that you weren't smart, or that you had to earn love through perfection, that message can echo in your mind for decades. And the longer it plays, the more you believe it's true. But it isn't. It's just a story, and stories can be rewritten. Here's something simple you can try starting today. The next time the voice in your head says something unkind or anxious, pause and ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, then why say it to yourself? Replace that voice gently with one that is kinder. I'm doing my best. It's okay to rest. I deserve peace, just like anyone else. These aren't just nice thoughts, they're medicine for the soul. Another practice is this: imagine that the voice is a separate character, not you. Give it a name if you like, maybe old habit or the commentator. When it starts to speak, you can say, "Oh, the commentator is talking again." That little bit of space, that bit of humor, helps you stop taking the voice so seriously. You begin to notice it, acknowledge it, and move on. You begin to choose your own peace, instead of letting the voice choose for you. The voice in your head might be loud sometimes. It might be critical, anxious, or stuck in the past. But you are not stuck. You are the listener, the watcher, the one who gets to decide what you take in and what you let go. And that is a power no voice can take from you. Now that we've opened this door and gently stepped inside, let's continue walking together. In the next part, I'll share more ways to work with this inner voice, especially during moments of fear, regret, or doubt. We'll also explore how Buddhist wisdom can help us soften, center ourselves, and live with greater kindness toward the mind, rather than being trapped by it. Now that we've taken the first step in noticing that the voice in our head isn't truly who we are, the next question becomes, how do we live peacefully with it. Because the truth is, the voice doesn't go away. Even the most practiced monks still hear their minds chattering. But what changes is their relationship to it. Instead of being swept away, they sit with it. Instead of reacting, they respond with calm. For many people over 60, this practice becomes even more meaningful. You've lived long enough to understand that not everything needs to be fixed. Some things just need to be witnessed. And your mind is one of those things. You don't need to argue with it. You don't need to obey it. You simply need to learn how to be with it, like an old companion who talks too much, but who no longer has the power to upset you. Let me share a practice that many people find helpful, especially in moments of emotional tension. It's called naming the voice. The next time your mind starts spinning, maybe about a mistake, a worry, or a harsh self-judgment, pause and name what's happening. You might say, here's the voice of fear, or here's regret again. Just that simple act of naming creates space. It reminds you, this is not me. This is a thought. And thoughts pass. One woman I spoke with, named Evelyn, began doing this every evening before bed. She used to lie awake for hours, going over all the things she said during the day. Did I sound foolish? Was that too much? Why didn't I do better? But once she started noticing the patterns, she gave each voice a name: the critic, the worrier, the old tape. She began greeting them like old guests. Hello, critic, I see you. But not tonight. It didn't silence the thoughts entirely, but it gave her power. She said, it was like I finally had a choice. I didn't have to believe everything I heard. And that's the heart of this work, noticing what the mind says, without believing it blindly. Just because your mind says you're too old to matter doesn't mean it's true. Just because it says you're not good enough doesn't mean you have to accept it. Remember, your mind is like a radio. It broadcasts based on what it's picked up over the years. But you, my friend, get to decide whether you want to listen or change the station. Another beautiful tool that can help is mindfulness of the breath. You don't need to become a meditation expert to do this. You just need a quiet moment and your own body. Sit down, breathe in slowly, breathe out gently, and as thoughts come, and they will just return to the breath. Inhale, exhale. Each breath is like an anchor, pulling you back into the present moment, where the voice has less power, because the voice in your head thrives on the past, and the future it cannot survive in the now. Try this even for just 2 minutes a day. You might be surprised how much lighter you feel. Not because the world changed, but because your inner world did. Now, let's talk about the stories we carry. Many of the voices in our heads are just old stories playing again and again. You've always been anxious. You're not smart enough. You should have done more. Sound familiar? These stories, were formed years ago, sometimes in childhood, sometimes during difficult chapters of life. And without realizing it, we start to live according to those stories. But here's a gentle truth. Stories can be rewritten at any age, even now. A man named Harold, 68, once told me he had always believed he was a burden. It came from childhood, from hearing "you're too much" or "be quiet" too often. That belief became a voice in his head that followed him into retirement. Even when his grandchildren hugged him, that voice whispered, "You're in the way." But Harold began to question it. "What if I'm not a burden?" he asked one day. "What if I'm a blessing?" That one question softened everything. He started showing up more, laughing louder, sharing stories instead of staying silent. His inner voice didn't disappear, but it no longer defined him. You, too, can ask those questions. When a thought comes that makes you feel small or unloved, ask, whose voice is this? Where did it come from? And do I want to keep listening to it? That reflection can open doors you never knew were locked. It's also important to know that not all voices in our heads are harmful. Sometimes we carry the voices of love, a grandmother's wisdom, a friend's encouragement, a teacher's belief in us. Try to listen for those voices, too. Let them speak louder. You can even cultivate a new voice, your own kind. Wise inner guide. One that says, "You're doing just fine," or "It's okay to rest today," or "You're allowed to be happy." Creating this inner companion takes practice, but it's worth it, especially in later life. When you've given so much to others, it's time to speak gently to yourself. Let that voice be your daily prayer, your quiet strength, your soft landing. And when the voice in your head is too loud, when it says you're not enough, or it's too late, remember this: it is just a thought. It is not the truth. The truth is deeper, older, and quieter than any thought. The truth is that you are here. You are breathing. You are still growing, and you are not alone. In the next part of our conversation, we'll explore how to meet difficult emotions with kindness, how to turn down the volume of inner judgment, and how to live each day with more presence, more peace, and more trust in the wisdom that already lives within you. As we continue walking gently together through this reflection, I want to offer you a few thoughts about what it means to live with peace, not by silencing the mind entirely, but by learning to live with it, not under it. Because you don't have to eliminate every unwanted thought to about freedom. You only have to stop believing that every thought is the truth. There will still be days when the voice in your head is louder than usual. Perhaps it's the voice of worry when a medical test is coming. Perhaps it's the voice of loneliness when the house feels too quiet. Or maybe it's the voice of judgment, whispering that you should have done more, been better. made different choices. And in those moments, it's easy to fall into old patterns, getting caught in the same loops of regret, shame, or doubt. But now, you have something you didn't before: awareness. And that awareness is your lantern in the dark. When the mind begins to race, try simply saying, "I hear you." That's it. No fighting, no fixing, no shame. Just notice it, like noticing a breeze through an open window. I hear you. This gentle act of witnessing can change everything, because suddenly, you're no longer inside the storm, you're watching it pass by. You can also place a hand on your heart when things feel heavy. That small gesture speaks louder than 1,000 thoughts. It says, "I'm here, I care. I am more than this noise." You don't need to explain yourself to the voice in your head. You don't need to win an argument with it. You just need to come back to yourself, to your breath, to this moment, over and over again. And if that sounds too simple, let me tell you it is simple and powerful. Some of the most profound healing doesn't come from doing more, but from finally doing less. Less striving, less fixing, less believing everything your mind says. Instead, you begin to listen more closely to the part of you that is always calm, always steady, always present. That's the part of you that notices the sun on your skin in the morning, the part that feels she when hearing a child's laughter, the part that holds your pain without judgment, the part that is not your thoughts, but your being. I once met a woman named Grace, in her early 80s, who told me something I'll never forget. She said, "For most of my life, I lived in my head. It was noisy and critical, and I thought that was normal. But when I began to listen deeper, beneath the thinking, I found a kind of peace I'd never known." Grace didn't go to retreats or read stacks of books. She simply sat on her porch each morning, listened to the birds, and whispered, "I am still here." That was enough. That is enough. And you, too, are still here. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not broken. You are unfolding, even now, even here. The voice in your head might say otherwise, but now you know better. You know that your worth isn't measured by how quiet your mind is, but by how gently you return to yourself each time you get lost. So how do you take this into your daily life? You begin with small steps. In the morning, before checking your phone or turning on the news, sit for 1 minute. 1 breath in, 1 breath out. Place your hand on your heart and say, "I choose peace today." That moment, though brief, sets the tone for your day. During the day, when the mind begins its chatter, pause. Take a walk. Feel your feet on the earth. Look at the sky. Remember that you are not your thoughts. You are the one witnessing them with grace and calm. That's your true home. And before bed, rather than rehashing the day or counting your mistakes, sit in silence and say, "Thank you." Thank you to your body for carrying you. Thank you to your heart for still being open. Thank you to your breath for bringing you back. This simple gratitude softens the mind. It reminds you that even in imperfection, there is beauty. Even in noise, there can be quiet. Over time, these small practices create a shift. The voice in your head may still speak, but it no longer rules you. You begin to live from a deeper place, not from fear, but from love. Not from urgency, but from presence. And others will notice. They may not understand it, but they'll feel it. A calmness, a groundedness, a softness that says, "I know who I am. I am not my past. I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness behind it all." This, dear friend, is your true self. It's not something you have to earn or create. It has always been with you, Wyatt. Still, patient, just waiting for you to remember. So before we end, I'd love to invite you to reflect. What voice in your head has been the loudest lately? And what would it mean to greet that voice with kindness instead of fear? What would it mean to say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose peace now"? If this message has spoken to your heart today, I'd be honored to hear from you. Please share in the comments, what thought have you carried that you're ready to let go of? What voice are you learning to meet with compassion? Your words might give courage to someone else who needs it. And if this video brought a sense of calm to your day, I invite you to like it, subscribe, and join this quiet community. We're building a place where elders can reflect, share, and remember who they truly are. May your mind be soft. May your heart be light. May you know, in every breath, that you are not the voice in your head. You are the peace that hears it and chooses love instead.